Welcome to CLIC Connect. I'm your host, Craig Sullivan, and today I want to thank our production partners, Red Roof Franchising and Chicago Title National Commercial Service Group, right here in California. It's Untitled with them, and if you haven't called both of them, I don't know why. They're great people at both organizations. Tell them that producer Danny and Craig sent you. Today, I would like to welcome a new friend, Dr. Jeffery, the CEO and president of the International Hospitality Institute. Jeffery, welcome to the show. How are you, your family, and your team?
Craig, you're very kind. I'm delighted to be on the show. Thanks for inviting me. What an honor. Thank you so much. And thanks to your producer, Danny, as well. Thank you.
Oh, it is our pleasure. Let's get right into this, my friend. I'd like to thank you and your team for the honor you bestowed on Danny and I via IHI with the 50 most influential people in hospitality nationally and globally. Thank you very much. It's an honor, and I had no idea that we were even in consideration for that. But yeah, thank you very, very much.
It's very well deserved. I tell you, the work you do is amazing. I mean, you spend so much time advocating for our industry. It's just amazing. I've seen your work on Sundays and Saturdays and all hours of the day. I mean, you're posting on LinkedIn, you're active. And you're driving organizations, you're promoting organizations that you're not making any money from. You're just putting out a good word about all these companies that are doing great things. And to me, that's truly inspiring. And thanks for your work. You deserve the recognition, and definitely well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. So, Dr. Jeffery, would you tell the audience about the International Hospitality Institute?
Yes. Pleasure to talk about IHI. I certainly could talk about IHI all day long. I don't know how much time you've got, but I will try to give a brief summary about what our mission is. IHI is really focused on different things. I mean, we do training and certification, but we do not only training and certification. We're involved in advocacy work for the global hospitality industry as well. We're also involved in recognition. There are lots of folks who work in hospitality every day who toil behind the scenes. People don't see them. People don't know their work. We want to be a voice for them. We want to showcase their work to the world. So recognition is a piece of what we do. Advocacy is something else that we do. Training and certification is something else that we do. So we've got many things that we do. You talked about the Hospitality Power Index, which you were recognized on along with some other great folks. That's one of the ways that we recognize folks who are doing great work in our industry. We've got the Julian Star Award, which is going to be rolled out in October of this year. That's also going to be a mechanism for recognizing people who are doing great work in our industry. So we're into a lot of things. We have the H Code, the Hospitality Code of Ethics, which was rolled out earlier this year to the global hospitality industry. And I tell you, there's a company out there that's not already using the H Code, that has not adopted the H Code, that's involved in hospitality. I would urge you to take a look at the H Code, see what the principles are, and consider implementing the H Code for your organization.
Absolutely. And I remember when you rolled that out, and we reposted it on our social network platforms as well. So, your certifications, and please correct me if I'm wrong, are all based around operations and revenue, correct?
Most of them are. Not all of them, but most of them. We've got several certifications going. We've got a few more that will be coming out this year. We're going to have one for the cruise industry, one for the airline industry, one for the casino industry, one for the spa industry, because hospitality is not only about hotels and restaurants. Right. We know that. But there are some folks who are not actively involved in our industry who don't think that. When you mention hospitality, they think, okay, hotels and restaurants, but it goes way beyond that. So we're going to be expanding our offerings, and that's going to happen between now and the end of the year. We've got a chef course that's going to be rolled out actually in 2 weeks from now that's going to provide training to culinary professionals and chefs and all of that. So we've got our fingers in various things, if you will.
I love it. I love it. That's exciting, and I can't wait for these announcements. So let's talk about the need for hospitality companies investing more in training of their associates and team members. You and I have had discussions offline. We're heavily involved with scholarship programs. So could you dive into that a little bit, please, for the audience?
I think it's really important to empower associates to be able to do a great job. When you give someone a tool and you provide them with the resources to improve themselves, they can help other people in their work. So if you've got team members who are not trained properly, who don't have the right tools, it's very difficult for them to deliver the kind of experience that you're looking to deliver to your guests. So training is something that I think a lot of companies need to invest in. We certainly are promoting that message. Obviously, we're very biased. We want people who are in hospitality to be trained, to be able to get the job done efficiently and successfully. So we really push for training. So you've got all kinds of opportunities that companies can exploit to train their team members. Quite often, companies talk about rewards that are extrinsic rewards. We want to give you more, bonuses. We want to pay you a higher wage. We've been hearing quite a bit about that in the advent of COVID-19. Companies having challenges finding personnel. You hear a lot about, well, we're paying them a lot of money. We're offering them a sign-up bonus. We don't know what the problem is. I challenge the industry and I say to my colleagues, it goes way beyond extrinsic rewards. You have to look at intrinsic rewards as well. Things like self-management, things like self-satisfaction that people get from doing the job, things like autonomy to be able to get their job done. All of these things are things we have to talk about. So in human resources, we talk about a total reward structure. And quite often, we as practitioners tend to focus on only the extrinsic side, which is bonuses and benefits and all of that. We don't talk about some of the other things that we need to look at. So training is so important. We need to show that we care about our people. And the way we're going to show it is not just to talk about it, is to actually back it up, spend money on training them, invest in them, empower them to be better resources to us and to themselves.
Absolutely. And I think that's, one of the many things that I love about our industry is you can have that career path. Mm-hmm. You can start out as a doorman or a night auditor, or a DOS, and, down the road be in the acquisitions team or running a hotel company. Mm-hmm. Like so many, I'm going to use one example and I use him a lot, Tom Gachet, Davidson Hotels. Mm-hmm. He started out as a doorman. Now he's the president of the company. So, his programs like what you and IHI and our trade organizations have that make that possible, not just the universities, which are a huge part. Don't get me wrong. Don't hit me with a lot of bad DMs. Okay. Everybody's important here. So, but Jeffrey, I'd love to hear your opinion on the current labor shortages in the hospitality industry, and not just California, but the United States and globally. Could you dive into that, please?
There have been different schools of thought when it comes to the labor shortage. I've had colleagues in the industry who said to me, I don't believe there's a labor shortage. I think there is labor, people just don't, the staff is there, they just don't want to work for us. So there are different ways of looking at it. One might say, well, it's all semantics and all of that. So it depends. My take is this. I think as an industry, we need to take a good look at what we're doing as an industry and see how we can get better at attracting talent to our industry. We really need to do that. And I think throwing money at people and throwing bonuses at them, that's not going to do it. You need to look at the broad spectrum of issues why people may not want to take on a career in our industry. There are so many factors: work-life balance, ability to get promoted in your career, things like dignity, things like, competitive pay, fair treatment. A lot of things that people are concerned about also apply to our industry. Our industry is only a microcosm of the entire, industry, the business industry that we function in. We need to find ways that we can attract people to come work for us. So there are folks who have issues with how much they get paid. There are folks who've got issues with benefits, who think they don't get enough benefits. I've had people say to me, listen, the hours are long and dreary, and, it's not worth it. I'm going to go work for Amazon. I'm going to go work in the warehouse. I'm going to go work in a different place. There are so many factors involved in it. And I don't think the industry is, deliberately not doing what it should do in terms of taking care of some of these concerns. You've got different companies. There are companies that are great at providing benefits, providing intrinsic and extrinsic rewards for their teams. There are companies that provide massive training opportunities for their teams. There are companies who have opportunities to improve in that area. So it sort of goes different ways. I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all approach to resolve the problem. I think we need to do a postmortem essentially after COVID-19 and say, okay, what is going on here? Let's truly dissect this issue and figure out how we can improve as a business enterprise. And we need to look at that.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm a big believer in the post-mortem review on everything that went well, everything not so well, and things that went horribly. That's how you learn. That's how you better not only yourself, but your team. And education is always part of it.
Definitely.
And, you know, it's, I spent 38 years in publicly held corporate America being told that I was a cog and replaceable in a heartbeat. Didn't matter that I had underwritten and closed nearly $25 billion worth of deals. You know, I was replaceable. And finally, I told him, I said, you know what? You guys really need to start taking better care of the stakeholders. It's not just about the stockholders. If we're not here, what do you have? A bunch of empty offices with phones ringing and nobody answering them.
So well said.
And I think there is a new dynamic that is partially revealed now because of labor shortages and directions that we've had to go through. And I got to say, the 27 years I've been in hospitality, at least the first 15, we did a horrible job at recruiting new talent. Everybody was going to Wall Street or other financial institutions. This is an industry where, you know, you have a career path. You can do it. You can grow and take your career as far as you want it. And I love this industry for that. Are the hours long? Absolutely. But the reward factor is there for the vast majority of people in our industry. And that's why we keep coming back.
So true.
But, you know, this time, you know, with the global pandemic, you know, there was a lot of things that just went awry. Our fundamentals were still real strong March of, you know, last year. We were looking at possibly a flattening on RevPAR, but, you know, our fundamentals were still real strong. So I'd love to also hear your views on managing hotels in a post-pandemic environment and the lessons learned. If you will.
Yeah, I love what you just said. I think if I can sort of go back a little bit to one of my favorite quotes, and this is from Bill Merritt, who talks about when you take care of your guests, you know, they're going to take care of take care of your associates, they're going to take care of your guests. And if you take care of your associates and they take care of your guests, the business is going to take care of itself. And I love that. It's a very simple quote, but it makes sense, right? Yeah. It takes us back to the fundamentals, which is what you just mentioned. So regarding the pandemic, I think you've heard the line about it's when the tide goes out that you see who's been swimming naked. I think what the pandemic did was revealed a lot of companies that have been swimming naked, so to speak, when it comes to issues like running their operations, being able to get staff, being able to stay in the position that they need to be. When you've got a company that's has an obsessive focus on growing margins and doesn't think too much about the people who are helping it deliver those margins, such a company, I said to you, is going to eventually run into challenges. So lessons learned from the pandemic, quite a few, right? We've learned for one that we can't continue, with business as usual. We have to be competitive in the marketplace. If you're an owner, if you're an operator running a hotel, a restaurant, whatever hospitality enterprise you're running, you need to be mindful that you're operating within the larger business context. You can't simply say, well, I'm going to hire someone at $8.25 because I can get them. Now you have to think, well, if I'm hiring them at $8.25, the guy next door, the lady next door is willing to pay, $12, $13, $14. So we need, that's a lesson we've learned. And we can't continue to operate the way we used to operate. So that's one. The focus on training is something else. When people are joining companies now, there are a ton of opportunities out there for folks. I mean, even after the pandemic, you've got, people who are quitting. I read an article just a few days ago about people quitting, the workforce in droves. The quit rate in April was higher than it has been, I think, for the past 20 years. That's remarkable in light of the fact that we're just coming out of COVID. What does that say to us? What it says to us is that people believe that they've got more viable options. If they believe they've got more viable options, they're going to be willing to go explore those options, which means if they're not happy with the status quo, then they're going to leave and go somewhere else. So we need to be more competitive as hospitality operators. We need to focus on training. We need to strengthen the value proposition that we're offering to folks who are working in our industry. We need to say to them, this is why it's an amazing place to work. This is why my establishment is the best place for you to work. And we can't simply dangle money in front of them. We have to say to them, if you come work for us, you're going to have an opportunity to grow your career. You're going to have an opportunity to learn, to be trained, to improve your skill set. You're going to have an opportunity for you to be a voice, to contribute. Your input is valued. We're going to, all of those things, people want to know that they're valued. It's not simply about throwing money to them. I've done a lot of training in my career. And one thing I used to mention to people, some of the folks that I was fortunate to have interactions with while I was training was this. If a guest's got an issue, and the guest walks up to you and says, listen, Jeffrey, my room was very hot. The AC didn't work. I had a miserable experience. And, what are you going to do about it? Don't simply say to them, here you go. Let me write you a check. Here you go. Let me give you a free night off. Listen to them patiently. Understand their concerns. Empathize with them before you even begin to formulate a response. If you simply throw money at them and say, okay, Mr. Johnson, here you go. I'm going to comp your room. They're going to feel deflated. They're going to feel unacknowledged. They're going to feel like you're not listening to them. We as hospitalitarians need to learn to listen a bit better. It doesn't mean we're not. Most of us do a great job at that, but there are always opportunities to improve, to listen a bit more to our audience, to listen a bit more to the people who are working for us. And that's going to make us a more attractive value proposition, as an industry.
I couldn't agree more. And there's times where the front desk hasn't listened, and they think just by comping the room that's going to take care of it, and it doesn't. And you also need to listen and hear, and come have the appropriate response back to the guest. Okay, we, being me, I've got clients and guests. You've got clients, guests, students, faculty, and everybody needs to be heard. And it's a fine line that you have to walk, but people skills in our sector of the world in hospitality are the best.
Absolutely.
We've got the best people, whether it's the associate or team on site, the management team, the acquisition team, the ownership team, the brands, the lenders, they're just the best. And I think we outperform every other industry with that ability to think and listen and talk. But you're right. That's a skill that needs to be worked on daily. And I appreciate that. Dr. Jeffery, we are almost out of time. So I've got two questions. First one is, what do you think of the new category bleisure? Because I think it's very important and I love it. And the second one is, I want you to tell our audience about your global event that's coming.
Absolutely. I'm delighted to. I'm glad you're giving me a couple more minutes to answer those questions. Great. I'm going to try to be as brief as I possibly can. Regarding bleisure, I saw your post this morning on LinkedIn, which is absolutely fantastic. It's great. I think it's here to stay. It's a new way of doing business. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So whoever coined that term deserves an award of sorts. So certainly, I think it's here to stay. Thanks for sharing that article that you shared today. Great read. Thank you. Regarding the GHS, the Global Hospitality Summit is coming up November 9th and 10th, 2021. It's going to be a remarkable event, easily the biggest hospitality event that's taking place in 2021. It's going to bring together global leaders from all over the world, different countries. They're going to come together and talk about the state of the industry. We're going to talk about the theme of the conference, essentially, is reset, reset, re-energize, reignite, all of those things that we need to do to get our industry back to where it needs to be. I'm blessed to be able to work in this industry. We've got the most amazing people. I can't imagine working in any other industry. I don't know that I've got the skill set to even do that. So we're all very blessed to be in the industry that we work in. And so GHS is going to be an opportunity to bring different stakeholders together over a 2-day period to really talk about issues that are topical and really talk about how to find solutions and all of that. So looking forward to that massive event. We've got a ton of people already signed up. I think we announced 33 speakers just last week. When it's all said and done, you're going to have about 60 speakers attending the event, and a massive event, great viewership that we expect from a global audience, and looking forward to being able to celebrate that event. Just looking forward to it.
There you go. I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm very excited about your event. And Dr. Jeffrey, we are out of time. So, shameless plug. How can people get a hold of you?
Jeffrey O at jeffreyo.com or Jeffrey at internationalhospitalityinstitute.com. So either email address gets you to me. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I try to be as active as I possibly can with my schedule. And yeah, they can certainly reach me, and I try to respond very quickly when I get inquiries. It's just my nature. It takes me back to my days working in hotels. We used to responding quickly. So when you reach out to me, rest assured I'm going to get back to you very quickly.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Jeffrey. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, our audience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Sure.
I'd like to thank you, our audience, for joining us today. Also like to thank our production partners again, Red Roof Franchising and Chicago Titles National Commercial Services Group, California. And you know what? Danny's going to roll a scroll down at the bottom. This is how you can register for CLIC 5 live and in person at the JW Marriott right here in Anaheim, California. And there's a discount code. I'm not going to say it because you need to write it down. And Dr. Jeffrey is going to be joining us. So you've got more questions about the International Hospitality Institute. He'll be there to answer them. We're looking forward to that day. And thank you for joining us on our journey on CLIC Connect. And if you want to be on the show, suggest a guest or a topic, DM producer Danny and I. We'd love to hear from you. And please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and smash that bell so that you get our updates and notifications early. And you can also follow and like us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And now remember, be kind, share your knowledge, go be amazing.